Good afternoon. Every 40 seconds in the United States, a child becomes missing or is abducted. And unfortunately, about half of the children who are abducted in the United States are taken by someone that they know or have an acquaintance with. You should carefully take heed of this information because our children, especially females who are between the ages of 12 through 17, are at high risk of abduction. Majority of those females who fit into this high-risk category of abduction do not reside with two parents or guardians. I personally do not know anyone who has been abducted, but I am able to speak on this topic because I have done thorough research and I have gained a vast amount of knowledge over the subject. Not only myself, but a vast number of my peers and associates fall into this high-at-risk category. Because of my close connection to this high-at-risk category, I was able to put forth a great amount of focus into the details of this research. This research will not only help to protect myself, but it will also inform and help others that may fall into this category alongside with me. Today, I will be humbly bringing forth to you information about the differentiating types of kidnapping, the statistics of victims' characteristics, as well as the perpetrators, and lastly, what happens to victims after they are abducted. Now that we have covered the most at-risk group of kidnapping, I would like to begin speaking about the differentiating types of kidnappings. According to parents.com, there are three distinct types or groups of kidnappings. The first type of kidnapping, known as family abduction, meaning the child or abductee has been abducted by someone in their family. This form of kidnapping occurs more frequently to children who are under the age of 6. This is simply because this crime is primarily committed by parents who do not have legal custody over their child. Sadly, family abduction has the largest percentile of kidnappings, which is 49%. Moving on to the second type of kidnapping group, further known as acquaintance abductions. This form of abduction involves the victim being abducted by a fellow acquaintance. This crime is often associated with other crimes such as sexual and physical assault, which makes this kidnapping group have the highest percentile of injured victims. Relatively speaking, the highest percentile of perpetrators in this abduction group are juveniles. Nonetheless, the last and final distinct group of abductions is stranger kidnappings, which has the lowest percentile of 24 out of the three distinct groups. This form of abduction involves the victim being abducted by a stranger, whereas kidnappings from this group occur primarily at outdoor locations and is targeted at both teenagers and school-age children. In most cases, this crime is strongly associated with sexual assaults in the cases of female victims and robberies in the cases of male victims. Now that I have given you the background and different categories of kidnapping, I would like to speak specifically on the characteristics of the victims. According to Reason.com, approximately 81% of victims were found to be male. Females ages 12 to 17 accounted for about half of all victims, while females 11 years or younger accounted for another 30%. Only about 12% of victims were accounted for as males. Nearly 61% of victims were taken in account as Caucasian, while 31% were African Americans. The other 8% of victims were accounted for as Hispanics. Now that I have given the characteristics and statistics of the victims, it is crucial that I inform you of the characteristics of their perpetrators. Reason.com also states that 3/4 of perpetrators were males between the ages of 18 and 35. The remaining perpetrators were mostly between the ages of 36 and 45. Around 44% of these perpetrators were Caucasian, while 45% were African American. The remaining 18% of perpetrators were Hispanic. Now that we are all aware of the statistics and characteristics of victims and their perpetrators, I would like to inform you on what happens to victims after they are abducted. In 66% of stereotypical kidnapping cases, a perpetrator uses force or threats to detain their victim. According to Reason.com, 37% of these cases involve physical abuse, 66 involve sexual abuse, and 25 cases involve neglect. The remaining 17 cases were suspected to be related to sex trafficking. On a better note, more than 1/3 of stereotypical kidnapping cases the victim was either found or returned home in 24 hours. On the other hand, in 31% of cases, the victim was either found or returned within 1 to 3 days. Only 15 cases in total dragged on for more than a week. Now that I have covered the dangers of kidnapping and its statistics, it is time for me to conclude my speech. We first began with the 3 differentiating types of kidnappings, known as family abduction, which has the largest percentile of kidnappings accounted for, acquaintance abduction, and stranger abduction, which has the least amount of abductions but the largest amount of injured victims accounted for. Then we move into the characteristics of victims and their perpetrators specifically. It was found that females are targeted more than males by male perpetrators. Caucasian men made up the largest percentile of perpetrators, while the largest percentile of victims were Caucasian females. Towards the ending of my speech, I then informed you all that in 66 of stereotypical kidnapping cases, the perpetrator uses force or threats to detain the victim. On the other hand, in more than 1/3 of stereotypical abduction cases, the victim was either found or returned home within 24 hours. Although in most abduction cases, the victim is found or returns home in 24 hours, it is still crucial that you take heed of this information, because having more knowledge on this topic could help protect yourself, your children, or friends from abduction. There must be some helpful information that you have gathered from my speech today. But if that is not so, I will tell you my takeaway of this research. As being a part of this high at risk category group, it is crucial that I take safety precautions around strangers, friends, and even family. For I am at high risk of abduction in America, it is crucial that I adhere to safety precautions almost everywhere that I go. Are there any questions? Thank you for your time.